So I'm Karin Dubsky. I was brought up multilingually with a strange family where my father and his sister and mum spoke Polish to each other if they didn't want us to understand. My mother and my grandmother speaking Russian to each other if they didn't want us to understand. And all the time speaking very fast when they didn't want to understand, because we had the general gist of it. Our mother tongue at home was German. And very often people, when we came to Ireland when I was 10, would say, "Why do you still speak that language?" And asking my mother, "Why don't you just speak English all the time? Why bother learning German?" And my mother said, "The language is so beautiful. Taste it, all the different nuances. Think of the Irish speaking of rain, and then think of the Germans speaking of something else. Because something what is really close to your heart." And in German, while Germans are supposed to be very straight and accurate and correct, and there is that language too, particularly in engineering and in geography, so when you're studying that, it's very useful to have German, but it's also a very emotional language. And all those nuances, if you ever happen to go out with a German, it's very useful to have that language. The other thing is that no matter what language it is, your mind gets broadened if you realize how one word means something totally different in another language. Like I, das I. And when my little children, when they first discovered these different meanings for a word, they thought it was brilliant. They loved it. They tasted it. They would look at it. They would laugh at each other. So I think German or any other language is really important to learn, but particularly German, either because you want to become a scientist or engineer, or because you want to discover that country and go to the mountains where the people don't speak English.